Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Arsenic and Espresso. I'm Alice Arsenic. This is my co-host Josh, and this is a podcast where we rarely drink coffee, but we always talk about metal music. Tonight we are drinking delicious, truly margarita hard seltzers. These are phenomenal. It's been a long day.
Hashtag not sponsored. I'm
But should
drinking
be.
the margarita lime. What are you drinking?
Strawberry hibiscus, margarita style. Bomb. Anyway, we're about to dive into a new segment that we're going to call Last Week's News Today.
Maybe you guys missed out on it last week.
Like we did.
Maybe you didn't, and you just want to hear what we have to say about it. Either way, you clicked on the video, so you probably want to hear about last week's news. So, first story on the list. All right. So first up, we have a story about Chris Barnes. Do you know who Chris Barnes is?
No.
Okay.
Do I? And I just don't know that I know?
No, you probably don't know.
Okay.
So Chris Barnes, he made the news today, though. Well, actually last week, because of his comments on death metal in general. So I think it's kind of funny that you said you don't know who it is, because he seems to think that he's a big deal.
Oh, no. Who is he?
No. Honestly, though, he has had a huge impact in like the death metal scene. So he is the ex-lead vocalist for Cannibal Corpse. So you've heard of Cannibal Corpse before. I don't know if you've heard much of their stuff.
I know of Cannibal Corpse. I have never listened to them once.
So
on purpose.
If you can think of, though, the like stereotypical Gen Xer that wears a Cannibal Corpse tee and is always like, oh, you think that's heavy? Do you listen to Cannibal Corpse? Like, that's who Chris is as well. So being the lead vocalist for that band, that's how he acts.
Okay. All right. A little holier than thou.
Yeah, so he is and to like give the flowers where it's due too, many people credit him for like putting the standard on low growl vocals in the death metal scene. Okay. So
good for you.
Yes.
Way to go. Accolades, snaps for Chris.
Snaps for Chris. Oh, he would be sick if he ever saw this. I'm kind of excited about it. But he's now in a band called 6 Feet Under. Okay. I'm going to be honest. I am not familiar with a whole lot of their stuff at all.
The only 6 Feet Under I know is the TV series.
Oh.
With Michael C. Hall. And he plays Undertaker.
That was a good series.
Fantastic.
That was a good series. But anyways, there was a roundtable discussion that had happened. And it had a few people, the vocalist from Cannibal Corpse, the new vocalist from Cannibal Corpse, right? So Corpse Grinder.
His replacement?
Yes, his replacement.
That's awkward.
Right. The vocalist from the Black Dahlia murder and from Gate Creeper. So anyways, they were talking about their favorite vocalist, basically, in the death metal scene right now.
Okay. Did Chris say himself?
No, not quite. So there was like a there was like a satire account that was made on like a Facebook page or whatever that said basically what did it say? It said all death metal singers suck except for me. That wasn't actually what he said.
Okay.
But what he did say is that he despises what the genre has become. And
that's a bit dramatic.
Right. That the current death metal vocalist made him physically ill. Yeah, he's a little bit dramatic. Like super dramatic. Yeah.
All I'm going to say is I have very little to zero respect for any musician who has the audacity to say that current people are not talented. Simply because they're not your cup of tea does not mean they're not talented. I do not listen to Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande is an incredibly talented singer. It's not my opinion. It's fact. Do I listen to her music? No. Does it make her a bad musician or singer? No. It has nothing to do with your personal taste. It has nothing to do with your personal beliefs, if you will, on if people are talented or not. Just because he doesn't like it doesn't mean there aren't people who aren't incredibly incredibly talented
Yes.
in the scene right now.
Yes. Well, and so Corpse Grinder, the current
Mhm.
vocalist for Cannibal Corpse, he fired back in an interview today or yesterday or whatever it was. Maybe it was last week. I'm not sure.
Probably.
But he fired back saying that he's actually super happy with what the scene is today.
Yes.
Like incredibly happy with it. And he talked about the tour that they're going on and who's with them and all that sort of stuff.
Who are they touring with? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh, Whitechapel.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but
Like, I know who that is.
they're touring with Whitechapel.
Okay.
And so I don't know. He really spoke highly of the scene. And I think that that's a big deal. And not to mention that there's a lot of people who have listened to Chris's current stuff, and the general consensus is that yes, he used to be really, really great. But not only has he not adapted with the times, which is fine, right? Like, I mean, old
Yeah.
heads can be old heads, right? They
Right.
can do their stuff, and
And it can still be fantastic for what it is.
yes, but he's definitely fallen off a lot from his peak. So he kind of peaked back in high school as well.
There are, I will say, in music right now, not just in the metal scene, there are a lot of men around his age who are going through it.
Yeah.
They are struggling with the fact that they are no longer 25 years old, that they are no longer number one spot record holders for whatever,
Yeah.
that their music is not hitting the charts, that it's not charting at all, much less in a top 10, top 5 position.
Right.
And I mean, I think that would be something that would be really, really hard to deal with. Realizing that your time has passed, that your season has come to an end. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with people's tastes changing. There's nothing wrong with the scene evolving and growing. It's wrong to take it personally.
Yeah.
It's wrong to be so dramatic to be like, oh, there's no one out here who's good.
Right.
Everyone sucks. Like, that's stupid. That's so
Yeah.
childish.
Yeah.
It's so childish.
Well, and that's sort of the sentiment that everybody's kind of been giving back at him as well. Just
Like,
kind of
sir,
like,
go buy a fancy sports car like everyone else your age
Right.
when they have a midlife crisis.
yeah, he's the old guy yelling at everybody to get off his lawn, you know.
Yeah.
And nobody wants it, right?
No.
And it's
No.
interesting because people like, I think it was well, I mean, many people, but for instance, the Will Ramos, he said that one of his largest influences was Chris Barnes. And his vocals. And so like that's a really big deal. I think that there's a lot of people in the scene right now that are doing some amazing vocals.
Yes.
And this dude's just old and bitter.
Well, and the crazy thing is okay, like I never listened to Cannibal Corpse. If you are new here, I grew up very conservative religious, and I didn't start listening to metal music till high school, and even then it was Christian metal.
Right.
So there were a lot of these bands that I just simply didn't get into, and so now it's kind of like, okay, like I get it, but I would rather listen to stuff I really, really, really love. So anyway, even though I didn't listen to them, I still know the impact that Cannibal Corpse had on the metal scene.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, Cannibal Corpse was a household name, like Slipknot, like Korn.
Right.
They were said together.
Yeah.
Right. So he has had a huge impact on the scene. There's no question about it. There's no
and nobody's questioning it. Nobody's trying to take that away from him.
Right. And yet he's acting like
Right,
it is being taken away from him.
Yeah, and it kind of just feels, it honestly just feels like he needed some publicity because to be honest, I didn't remember his name until I was like, oh, the old Cannibal Corpse guy. Oh yeah, I know who that is, right? And like that's how, I mean, and I mean,
but also we're not like, we don't listen to Cannibal Corpse. Like, why would we remember the old lead singer's name?
No, you're right.
We were just talking about that. I to this day forget that Ronnie Radke was the lead singer of Escape the Fate.
Right.
Like every single time, and then I read an article and I'm like, oh yeah, he was in Escape the Fate. Like it's new information to me every single time. So like when you're not in the scene, when you're not in that band's, or rather when that band is not in your constant rotation, like why would you remember their name? It's fine. It's not like, it's not,
Makes sense.
It doesn't make you less of a metalhead. It doesn't make you less of a fan to not remember people's names.
Yeah.
You know, and like I could go off about how toxic the community is for that reason, of people being like, how do you not know not only his name, but also like his first ex-wife's name and their baby, and then all of those things. Like,
yeah,
it gets a little too I don't even know the word I want to use, but
Yeah.
people take it a little bit too seriously in the sense of like, are you a fan or are you not a fan? As someone who never listened to Cannibal Corpse, I can acknowledge they had a huge impact on the scene.
Yeah.
And to this day, like you just said, Will Ramos said that he was influenced by Cannibal Corpse.
Right. One of the biggest metal vocalists right now.
Yes.
Right. I mean, and whether you agree with that or not, like he is huge on the scene right now. He's getting the genre a whole bunch of attention.
Yes.
And for him to say that Chris was one of his influences, like that's a big deal,
well,
right?
all that's going to do is turn people onto Cannibal Corpse who never listened to them before.
Yes.
And they will specifically seek out when Chris was the vocalist.
Yeah.
They will specifically seek out that music.
Yes.
So I think he's having a moment. He's feeling a little hurt. He's feeling a little upset. And he's lashing out.
He is.
He should probably see a therapist.
Probably should. So what do you guys think about that though? I want to know your comments down in the comment section below. What your thoughts are on Chris, what your thoughts are on Corpse Grinder, the response to it and everything. Do you even care?
Right. Is it something
that's
every single time I've ever heard the phrase Corpse Grinder, I always think the Corpse Bride.
Oh.
And so I like that's where my brain goes every time, and then I have to be like, oh yeah, not
that
claymation film.
That's funny.